just a small town girl with a big old dream. Now she's taking it over and making a scene. Yes, it's your turn next, so please take your seat. Cause baby, the best is yet to be seen. Good morning, sunshine. Good morning,
Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer.
Sunshine's Corner.
And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Where Purpose Meets Power and Conversation Creates Change. Today, our hearts, we're going to go to our community where we mourn a tragic act of violence. Authorities have identified the victim killed in this Sunday morning downtown Pensacola shooting. A young man by the name, called him PJ, affectionately known to everybody. That's his nickname in the community. Now, PJ was just 19 years old and a member of the 2025 graduating class of Pensacola High School. We extend our deepest condolences to his family, his friends, his classmates, and everyone whose lives been touched. As our community search for answers, we welcome Pensacola Police Chief Eric Winstrom to provide the latest information on this ongoing investigation and to discuss what can be done to keep our community safe. Chief Winstrom, thank you for joining me today for a conversation like this that's somewhat difficult. I thank you so much. And let me say this to you. I have been following this story all weekend. Your face, your work is the first face I've seen since this started. And I want to just say thank you for being there to show from your heart. I think from the last conversation we had when you first came into Pensacola, and now we're going through this. All I can say is thank you, because you have been there just working on a tragedy that happened on a celebration of 250 years. I mean, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for inviting me, taking the time to talk to me, and not just me, the whole community's really stepped up. A tragic early morning for Pensacola on the 5th of July, and everybody in the police department, everyone that's reached out to me, it has really made me optimistic that this is a city that's not going to tolerate this sort of thing lying down, and not going to be okay with this and just move on. Everyone wants answers. Everyone wants justice. Everyone wants to comfort this grieving family, and that's the right thing to do. But just from the moments, literally moments after the tragedy, when I called the mayor, I called the city administrator, and they got up and they came down, and we're bringing bagels and coffee to the police officers working the scene, because they knew that it was going to be a very long stretch before anybody got sleep, and they're still at it. I got the update this morning, and the detectives have been getting little rest, but 24/7 we're working on this, and we really need those answers. There's a family that deserves them.
Unbelievable. And I tell you, I got to say, because when you say you reached out to the mayor, I saw each time I've gone to social media and I checked for what's the updates on the case, I've seen you and the mayor there, you all talking together, and then, informing the community of the tragedy that happened. But from me from a mother, to get that call, I mean, to say, I don't understand. I'm being real with you. I just don't understand. Okay. And it was so many people downtown because of the celebration this early Sunday morning. What happened? Is it gang related? I know that on one report they say that might be a part of it, that it is gang related, something that was going on and on and on. What is it that happened that caused them to start shooting when all these innocent bystanders are there? That's what bothers me. It
bothers me too. And I want to start out by saying I want to be delicate. I want to be very clear that I don't think anything that PJ ever did in his life resulted in his own murder. Mm-hmm. I'm not victim blaming. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been involved in this or that. I think he was an absolute true victim, and that's very difficult
oh God.
In the case of a lot of gang investigations that I've been involved in, and you hear the facts come out, and it's two people shooting at each other, and then some people try to make sense of that. There's no sense it's going to be made of this, that I'm going to come to you in a few days and when we have more answers and say, Sonshine, here's the motive, and now it all makes sense. In my experience, these incidents, they form from petty grievances. It's an insult on Facebook. It's it's I insulted your gang. It's something going back years. And in this case, 6 of these individuals who were involved, they had a social connection. They all knew each other. They were involved in different friend groups that there was a conflict with. So we think that it was just an ongoing disrespect that somehow at least one individual made the determination that it was worth taking to this extreme, tragic, terrible, evil point of taking out a gun and starting firing shots.
Oh, my God.
It's not going to make any sense when we have all the answers.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Now, when you say, now there were 6 other victims, right? That were,
That's right.
How are they?
All 6 now, I believe all 6 are out of the hospital.
Okay.
Now. Yeah, which is good. And we're talking just a difference of an inch or so of a trajectory of a bullet, and we could be talking, 7 homicide victims.
Of course.
So thankful at least that those 6 are recovering. I think one suffered serious injuries that is probably going to take a lot of therapy, a lot of physical therapy to get through, to make a full recovery. There was talk of potential of amputation of limbs. So this is not the fact that all 6 are out and everything's fine. Very serious injuries to this group.
Oh my God.
And but we are to the point now where we're able to have conversations with
I understand.
them. Because only a few were able to talk that first night. So
exactly.
Getting that eyewitness conversation with the detectives has been helpful. I know that was ongoing all day yesterday. They're still working on that today. And the more cooperation we can get from not only those individuals who were victimized, but we know there were so many other people there. We've already spoken to some who've come forward, but we do need the public's help more. The more information we know, there's dozens of people that saw things.
Well, you know how nowadays everybody got the camera, boop, taking pictures.
That's right.
I mean, listen, if you've got pictures, if you videotaped, get in touch with you.
That's right.
Because that could help somebody, Now, let me ask you, was it one gun?
At least 2 guns so far. And I want to be thankful too to not just the Pensacola Police Department, but all our law enforcement partners and the Escambia County EMS that showed up, the Pensacola Fire Department that showed up right away. This was when you have such a big scene with so many injured people. Everybody working together. You had police officers doing first aid. You had paramedics trying to lift it and carry people out. Everyone was working together to make sure that this terrible tragedy wasn't made worse by some inaction. Everybody stepped up. And one of the groups that stepped up, the federal government reached out and said, what do you need? And the ATF helped. I believe it was just a couple hours later that we were able to determine, with the shell casings on the scene, there were a minimum of 2 guns used in this incident. So we know there were multiple shooters, confident there were likely multiple shooters, and we're looking at the possibility that even 2, there may have been 3. But we're sorting that all out. There's a ton of forensic evidence to go through, a lot of testing with each one of the shell casings, any bullets that we find, so a lot of work. But our law enforcement community stepped up as well. I've had the chief of Milton reached out, the sheriff reached out that almost immediately, Gulf Breeze, everybody in the area said, hey, what can we do to support you? Yeah.
I mean, now when you think about this, when you say there's a possibility, now I'm going to ask this question because this just popped in my head. Did PJ have a gun?
There's no indication. I generally there's public information and non-public information, and usually at this course in the investigation, I'd say I don't know, but I will just be open and honest with you, because that was a concern I had. I said, is this a case that maybe he tried to shoot someone first?
Right.
I'll say I haven't seen any evidence that he had a gun whatsoever, and I've looked at quite a bit of evidence. So our focus is on his family, on his mom, who was on scene very early. You could tell she's a loving mom.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so sad because I think I went back and I did some, I see he just graduated last year, and he was a football player. All of the awards that he had received, I've done readings about that, Yeah. And I say, to the family, my heart, and I truly am praying that God give you peace to get through this difficult time. When it comes to the investigators and they're out there doing this, when you say you got to go through all these different things, with the bullet will tell a different story from the shell casings, right? That's my Law and Order watching you, okay?
Yep, you got it right. Yeah.
No, but I say that, but that's going to determine, because I believe, I know certain things you probably can't say yet. Has it led into a direction for finding who started this?
Well, so like you said, there's some things I can't say
Right.
until we're ready to put handcuffs on someone and charge
Exactly.
someone. There's a lot of non-public information that I'm not going to be put out there. But I could talk about crime investigation in
Yes,
general.
please.
And since I've been a police officer for 26 years now, the technology has gotten to such a point that used to be you would have to find a bullet. It would have to be, and by a bullet I mean the actual part that comes out of the gun, you know, the muzzle of a gun that strikes an individual. And then under a microscope, you could look at the lines on the bullet and try to match it up to a gun or to another bullet. Technology has improved now so that you can get a spent shell casings, which 20, 30 years ago we thought were useless. It was, well, you can tell how big the bullet was, but there's no way to, now you can actually match that shell casing just by the tiny microscopic impact that the hammer striking the round had, how it was ejected from the gun, the scrapes on that gun.
Really?
We can put it to an actual gun, and we can say all of these shell casings came from the same gun, from different guns. We can see what sort of gun it came from. And so the more evidence that but all of that takes time. It takes money to go through the process. It takes personnel. And when you're talking about dozens, maybe more pieces of evidence like that, each one of those is the investigation is extended and extended and extended. So, but we want that evidence.
Exactly.
We want to process it because it certainly will give us just so much information that will lead us down the path to tell the story of how this all went down.
I mean, with incidents like this that's happening, I mean, like right here in Pensacola, the families that are asking for, you know, the help that they need and the work that you're doing and with the investigators and everybody. How, Chief, what can the community do? What can we do to play that positive factor so that we can help prevent things like this? What is it that we could just, I mean, what can we do? Because this was just, like I tell you, I feel it here because I think about I have a son, but it just is painful. What can we do as a community to help all the work that you all are doing?
Well, I'll tell you, that night, that early on in that morning when PJ's mom arrived, and I could tell that he had a loving mom in his life, and then all these other individuals started up, which were just devastated by his loss. You could tell he had a support system. He had people that loved him. And it just made me feel like if I was 19 and I died, I would hope that same support system would come out. And then you think about the other individuals involved in this incident, that the shooter, the killer,
right?
And thinking that likely, though, the individuals that really are the offenders in this case don't have that same. They don't have those adults in their lives that are there to support them, to guide them down the right path. Now, I could be wrong. It could be. There are monsters in this world. There are serial killers. There are people that are just evil that need to be locked up and incapacitated for life. But when you're talking about crime with our young people, a lot of times when you look at it and you go back in the history of these young people, you see that they didn't have that adult in their life that would come down on a tragic event like that would show up in tears. And we need more, so to answer the question, we need the adults in Pensacola to be mentors to young people, even if there's not a mother or father in the home. We need mother and father figures to step up and be involved in these young people's lives, to give them hope, and to, number one, say, put down the guns.
Absolutely.
One thing that was a little disturbing to me early on in the night is we saw young people that were showing up that were wearing face masks, that were wearing ski masks. It was near 100 degrees that day.
Tell me about it.
There were young people showing up with winter coats with hoods so they could put the hoods up. And we can have discussions about fashion, about style, about how difficult it is being a kid and you don't want to stick out, and how do you blend in different things. But if your child is leaving the house with a gun, that's a problem. If your child is leaving the house with a ski mask on July 4th when it's near 100 degrees, there's a problem. So the more adults that we have in these young people's lives that are going to call them on this and say, no, and
are you telling me
better.
That people were showing up 1 o'clock in the morning with a...
Exactly right, yeah, yep.
Oh my Jesus. I mean, so are we to say that they were part of the problem?
definitely part of the problem. And I'm not saying that all of those individuals that were dressed like that were showing up, but one story I told earlier in the night that we had a lot of police officers on there, and we were looking out for young people that were throwing fireworks at other people. Very dangerous, but one of the young people that ran from the police and fought with the police and was put in handcuffs then had a handgun tucked in their waistband as well. So they were out there obviously up to no good already, throwing fireworks, trying to at least frighten, if not injure, other people. But they were armed with the deadly weapon, ready to kill someone, and this was a kid. So if there were adults in that kid's life, say, hey, it's July 4th, where are you headed? Who are you going to be there? Why are you dressed like that? You know, why are you wearing a ski mask when it's 100 degrees out?
Exactly.
And please tell me that you are not going to be around people with guns.
Exactly.
Because you're a kid, and that doesn't need to happen.
How are they getting the guns? I mean, is it difficult to purchase a gun?
It's not that difficult to purchase a gun if you're a law-abiding citizen, and the statistics that we show, a lot of these guns that are used in crimes can come from law-abiding gun owners that are burglarized, law-abiding gun owners that kind of lose track. A lot of gun owners that I know have a lot of guns, and if they have young people in their lives that have access to those guns, they might not even notice that they're missing a gun. And then the second high statistical ways to get it is through a straw purchaser, where I might be a convicted felon, but I have a girlfriend who's never been arrested, and I give her money and say, go into this shop, buy myself a gun. She'll pass the background test, then I get a gun. And oftentimes what we've seen is once they realize that that's possible, and then they can mark up the gun themselves and sell it on the street for even more, than that one lawful gun purchaser who's doing an illegal thing of straw purchasing might buy a dozen or so guns. Those guns all make it onto the street before the ATF or local law enforcement sees the pattern and is able to stop that individual from buying additional guns.
When I read the other night, okay, that this age group was 16 to 20, 16 to 19? 16
to 26 was the spread of the age group of the individuals that were shot. Now, our arrest range was even more than that. It was as young as 14-year-olds, and I think it may have been a 14-year-old that had the gun in his waistband.
In his pants?
But just from me being down there, and I was down there the entire night and long into the morning, there were kids that, in my assessment, easily 11, 10 years old, and they were not with adults, not even with like an older sibling. They were just in groups of kids. It was out and about, yeah.
We're talking with, that is unbelievable. Chief, I tell you, that's unbelievable. I want to talk about when you say that this is possibly a 14-year-old that you're walking around with a gun in your belt. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that, because I want to find out, how is it, do they think that's supposed to be, I'm the man, I got this gun, but that's so dangerous. We'll talk more about that when we return right here on Sunshine's Corner.
I learned during my military service to train every day to fight and fight to win. If you've been injured in an accident, you already know one thing for sure. The insurance companies are going to fight you for every dollar you deserve. At Michelson Booth, we settle most of the cases we handle. But if the insurance companies choose to fight, well, we're okay with that too. If you've been injured in an accident, choose a law firm that's got the resources, training, and stomach for the fight. Michelson Booth. Don't be a victim twice.
Nestled in the heart of Pensacola, Dorothy's is a one-of-a-kind, community-driven cocktail bar by Oasis, Florida, created to sustain vital HIV and STI care across the Florida Panhandle. Inspired by the Wizard of Oz, rooted in inclusion, and dripping with character, Dorothy's is a welcoming space with award-winning Oz-inspired cocktails, food by Steel Pony Diner, and an unmatched atmosphere. Join us 7 days a week in downtown Pensacola, located directly across from Maritime Park and the Blue Wahoo Stadium.
Step into your hometown boot store right here in Pensacola, Florida. The largest selections of Western boots and attire, including our own style of custom Anderson bean. The boot store also carries a great selection on workwear, from boots to fire-resistant clothing. When you're looking for authentic wear, accompanied with authentic service, show up at your hometown boot store, where you're more like family than you are a customer. And remember, the savings and selection are found behind the big red booth.
At FPL, we plan for storm season all year long. We're strengthening poles to better withstand severe weather. We're clearing lines to improve resiliency, and we're constantly training teams to act at a moment's notice. Because we're always working, always preparing. So when storms do hit, you can count on us. FPL, working for you every single day.
And welcome back to a conversation I do believe that we should have more often, because I think I believe in talking about situations. We're talking about what happened right here in our city Sunday morning, right after the 4th of July. And Chief, I want to add, okay, when I think about all those fireworks, I mean, because even in my neighborhood, I mean, everywhere you go, all you could hear, pow, pow, boom, boom, pow, all you hear all night. But how is it, and I'm going to go back to the little guy with the little thing in his waist, that when you're out there, can you really differentiate between the two sounds from a gun and those great big fireworks? You know, because you got those things, boom, pew, then pow, pow.
Yeah. If it's, I'm pretty confident in my ability to do so. However, the second you turn that question into an urban environment with tall buildings, the echoes make it that much harder. So even that night, we heard a lot of fireworks. We heard those gunshots go off. I was standing next to the deputy chief, and we both kind of looked at each other.
Oh, you all were standing there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were maybe 2 blocks away from the incident and it was a look of fireworks or gunshots. And we heard the first scream. We said, no, that's gunshot. So, but the echoes off buildings make that very high. If it's an open field, I can almost immediately say that's a firework, that's a gunshot.
I got you.
But just because of the experience that I have. But it made it so that a lot of people were confused what's going on, and it actually adds to a dangerous situation when there's so many fireworks at night, so that when there's some deadly situation happening, people didn't even realize it until they saw people falling on the ground.
When you hear, I say fearful, because sometimes, no pun intended, younger people, I don't see any fear in them. I don't see any, I'm afraid. The young man with the, this is a baby in my eyesight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, yeah.
But you've got a gun in your belt. All this law enforcement down here, you're not afraid?
And that's one thing that, I mean, and that comes down to immaturity and just making terrible decisions.
Exactly.
And when you get that large of a group, even if you want to point to the fact that, you know, PJ was 19, some of the other individuals were as old as 26, like, well, these aren't exactly kids. There were so many kids down there,
exactly.
And they clearly aren't able to make the determination what's safe, what's unsafe, what's a good decision, what's not. And that's just that's how it is being a kid. That's just being kids. So it felt like, with the police presence there, no disrespect to the young people, but it felt like the biggest babysitting job in the state of Florida, as we were all sitting there like, you know, these are kids. They're doing kids thing. We're trying to keep them safe. There's so many of them. Most of them weren't breaking the law, so we're certainly not putting handcuffs on anybody, and it was just hours and hours of watching, trying to keep these young people safe.
You said something, you said these are kids being kids. When I was a kid, we didn't play like that.
No.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I'm saying most, you know, a majority of these kids, as I said, I think we made 9 arrests prior to this shooting, but 500 minimum kids down there. I wouldn't be surprised if there were 700 kids. So just a very small group of bad actors. And you look at the group's kids and they're like, these are kids being kids. These are kids. Now, granted, from my perspective, I think they were in a less than safe place. I think they weren't making the right decision. It was too late for them to be out without some adult present. And I think a lot of other adults in the city saw that as they saw things on social media, et cetera. We saw a lot of parents that actually came down to the area downtown, and they would see me and say, I'm looking for my kid. It was like, thank you so much for coming down here.
Exactly.
So progress was being made. Unfortunately, that it didn't impact the tragic outcome.
What do you think there is a lack of? Okay, I keep thinking about this young child who has this. Okay, and it can be seen. Is that supposed to be? I'm building my rapport. I'm the man. Look, I've got my piece.
Yep.
Is that what are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to impress? Is there a lack of? Okay, I want to go back to you said something. Sometimes there's a lack of maybe one home parent or a lack of discipline. As my mama used to say, rest her soul, it didn't happen in this house. I mean, but I think that needs to go back to that. I really believe that. This is just me talking to you now.
Yeah.
What I think, because I think now I know we've advanced. I know that we have grown. We're evolving every day. But when you take a person's life, that's it.
Yeah.
You've harmed two families.
Absolutely.
The person's life you took, that family is hurt. And you've hurt your family because you got to do time. You're gonna have
Absolutely.
to. Everything is gone. What is it that how can we make a difference? I noticed that you and the mayor was talking about possibly a curfew. I think that's a good idea. Are we going to implement that? How far have you guys come along on making that decision?
Well, so the city council would be responsible for passing the actual ordinance. It would be, there are other cities that have that ordinance. And in fact, this is the first place I've worked as a police officer that did not have a curfew in place. But I think probably because Pensacola historically statistically has been so safe that it wasn't needed. But the world has changed with now when you can get, a 13-year-old can get an Uber someplace.
Thank you.
When
you call
kids,
Uber. Gotcha.
Yeah, ride share. When you could post on social media and get 100 of your friends to show up somewhere just on a post. When I was a kid, I'd be dialing all day or like this.
Yeah, with that circle thing.
So young kids don't understand that, but so the world has changed. I think maybe evolving with it, and I've heard some of the ideas I've had, or maybe geographic specific, like just a curfew in the area where there's establishments where alcohol are served. That could do it. That could make the benefit, because all these kids really were focused on the area of Palafox where all of the bars are, but obviously they're not 21, so they can't get in the bars.
So they're all outside.
So they're interacting, and the adults that are coming and going, by the end of the night, there's some intoxicated adults now mixing with the juveniles, and it just becomes a more and more negative situation. So, but it's certainly something for the city council to. I try not to get involved in politics, but if they're asking if I supported it, I would certainly support the ability to think of a ways that we can get these kids in a safer situation.
What would that consist of? If there is a curfew, what would that be? What age group? How late can you stay?
I've seen it multiple ways. So in the city of Chicago, how we had it, it was staggered. It was if you're under 17, on a weekend, midnight's your cutoff. You got to be in. But if you're under 15, 11's your cutoff. And if you're under 13, you've got to get off the street by 10 or be with an adult. And there's a lot of exceptions. If you're going to work, there's an exception. If you're running an errand for your parents, there's all these things. But and really, when we were encountered, so a lot of these kids would have been in violation of that specific curfew. And how do you deal with it then? Number one, you ask the parents ahead of time, hey, this is a curfew, please cooperate. Talk to your kids. Maybe the parents aren't comfortable being the bad guy or whatever, and now they have the ability to say, hey, it's the law, kids. You have to be in by this
be the bad
specific
guy.
time.
You save them.
Yeah, exactly right. And for the police then, it gives you the tool to say, all right, for example, the 10 and 11-year-olds I saw out there said, all right,
10.
I can tell that you're a kid. How old are you? Where do you live? I'm going to take you home. And that would be the end of it. It's literally getting them off the street. And so something to consider about.
10-year-olds were out that late?
10-year-old past midnight.
Oh my goodness. Okay, what would you say, what message you would say about Pensacola now? Is it a safe place? If there's a visitor coming in, what message would you convey?
If I'm sitting behind a computer and looking at statistics, Pensacola is a very safe city. That is zero comfort to PJ's family, zero comfort to the people that love
right.
PJ. So I don't want to tout statistics and say that. So I could say we can do better.
I got you.
We can do better. You talked about the 14-year-old with a gun and why that would, like, what the thought process. I mean, 14-year-old boys aren't known for their great decision making, et cetera. But when I can think back to that, and there's a lot of issues. You're looking for support from your peer group. You're also dealing with a lot of insecurity as you're getting that age. And I think for some 14-year-old, maybe that there are kids that think like, oh, this is going to make me feel stronger about myself or better, and that's where we really need the adults in the community to step up and say, you don't need a gun in your waistband to be a strong person, to have hope in your life, to be confident.
Exactly.
You got to do that without a gun. In fact, the gun is detracting from that exponentially. It's also putting you in a position that you're, the tragedy could strike.
Do you think that even some of the younger people that were there mentally, all of that happened, even though they were out that late, you suggest to the families, I would talk to that child. Because that's got to be traumatic.
Oh, yeah,
I wasn't there, but it affected me.
absolutely.
So, I mean, with that, because with the surroundings of all these young people, is it that, I got to do something that bad to fit in? I believe now, when I just see younger, I think I shared this with you before, I fear just being that around. If I'm alone, I'm going to make sure I'm not going to stay right there next to you, because there's a fear there. Because I don't see a fear, and I'm not talking about PJ's, I think, no. I'm just talking about whoever it is that was using that gun.
Yep.
That, what is it that you're trying to prove? What are we, how, so many thoughts are going through my mind, because I'm thinking as his mom, and she's getting ready for her child to step into college so he can go on and be great at what he wants to do in his life. Now, he won't, because of that act. And to get are there programs we could institute here to get some of these guns off the street? Is there something we could do? Have you thought about that? I'm just saying, years ago we had this gun buyback thing. It was years ago they did that. But I think, it was funny, Chip said, well, we got a lot of guns, but they were the old ones. I mean,
Yeah, and we've done. I've been involved in gun buybacks before. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, statistically, it doesn't help, et cetera." But I'll tell you, one of the heartbreaking incidents that I dealt with, the last city that I worked as chief, was a 13-year-old who had found his grandfather's old gun, and his grandfather had actually forgotten that it was in this dresser drawer, got it, was playing for it, and killed his 13-year-old friend. And it's those sort of guns that we found success in getting, that we're reminding people, hey, if you're done being a gun owner, if you don't want to be a responsible gun owner, here's your opportunity. Turn it in for some cash, and if it saves somebody from a tragedy, So I won't say they're absolutely worthless. Are we going to get the hardened criminals to come down and turn in a gun for a gift card? No, but could it make a positive impact? Yes. And I will say, too, the police department's very good at getting illegally possessed guns off the street. And if we are known as a city that's not going to tolerate violence,
right.
I think making an arrest in this case will have a big impact to communicate the fact, this is not the place you want to be shooting someone. We will find you. We will hold you accountable. So that's important.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a great talk today that we should be willing to have all the time, so we can save our children, so we can educate them on the importance of safety, to educate them that you don't have to impress anybody. You don't have to be that person. Know who you are within yourself. When we come back, I want to talk to the chief about, since he's been here, what is his conclusion to how you feel about Pensacola and all the things that are happening right here on Sunshine's Corner.
For 75 years, we've been caring for families, creating jobs, and working to build a healthier community. This is your home, and ours too. We're honored to be the trusted partner in your care. Baptist Healthcare, here for you then, now, and always.
I'm Kathy Holsworth, Artistic Director at Pensacola Little Theater. Join me on the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. for the Center Stage, where me and my artistic friends talk about all things on the stage and at the Clark Family Cultural Center. Join us, won't you?
Take a breath and step into something green. At Pensacola Seed and Garden, both of our locations are open 7 days a week, ready when you are. We don't just sell plants, we grow many of them right here, with care you can see. And once you take one home, you'll find everything you need to help it thrive. Visiting from out of town? Discover unique exotic plants you can bring home, often for less than ordering online. Pensacola Seed and Garden. Grow something beautiful.
And welcome back to Sunshine's Corner. We're talking with, I tell you, Chief, you've been here now how long?
4 months and a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Been a bliss for 4 months, hasn't it? I mean,
It's been busy.
It's been busy. But I say that because we were talking off camera in relations to young men with mentors. Do we have enough mentors? We need more mentors. We need somebody to be able to take that child by the hand and guide them in another way, because I think some of them, I'll use this as an example over at the Fricker Center where they're rebuilding. Hey, so it won't be long. But there are kids there. I reach out not to say I love you, and just to hear them, how they'll fall in my arms. Oh, we love you too, Miss Sunshine. I'm talking about the boys too.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's missing. And with mentorship, we can help that, so we can prevent some of these things. I'm not saying that we can prevent it all. If we can do one at a time, that's a difference. What do you say about mentors? What we need to do about that?
Well, I think we need more of it. And you look at especially young men, and young women with that age, young teenage years. You know, they're looking for love, they're looking for acceptance. They're gonna get it from somewhere, and if they're not getting it from a healthy adult in their lives, like what happened this weekend, they might be getting it from individuals that are engaging in illegal activity. Right. That I mean, that's how gangs are formed. You know, young people that really aren't having those strong adults in their lives directing them better, and they're going to get love and acceptance from somewhere. And if it's negative peers, that's where they're going to get it. So, I had a great meeting with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Yeah.
Great organization that we've started to get involved in. You know, a group of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and the littles came to the police station early on when I was there, and I got to meet the leaders of the organization in this area. That's a great model, and I think if you look statistically, young people that take part in that with mentors, that even if they're only meeting, you know, once every couple of weeks or something, if you know someone's going to hold you accountable, if you know someone cares about you, and someone's going to care that they heard that you did something and got arrested, you did something, made it hurt somebody else. You might not do that. You have a better stake in doing the right thing if you know, like, somebody's watching me and I don't want to let this person down.
Exactly.
So the more mentors, and whether it's Big Brothers, Big Sisters, some other organization.
Lamplighters, they do good work.
Absolutely.
I want them to meet you. Then you got the 100 Black Men with Courtney. He does some great work. Because he's been the president now for a couple of years. All these guys, will y'all reach out and talk to the chief and let him know what you do? You know, because you all do some great work, because I work with the both of you. But I say that because I think our children need that. Can you explain how the department is working with the community so that we can partner to reduce the violence, reduce the gang? What are your plans to do that so we can reduce that?
Well, police are really good at responding to crime, investigating crime, and deterring crime with our presence, et cetera. And so because of that, when there's an incident like this, everyone immediately looks to the chief, looks to the police department, hey, what are you doing about this? And we're good at doing the police stuff. We'll find these individuals, we'll put handcuffs on them.
Of course.
But as you alluded to, there's so much more that needs to be done. There's support for the young people in the community. So we partner with just about everybody we can. And I'm so glad you just called out some organizations that I don't think I have met with yet.
I'm going to make sure.
That I want to, because I will be the first to admit that where it comes to issues, especially dealing with our young people in crime, we have a role to play. We have an important role to play, but we are not always the solution. But if there's a way for me to stand next to somebody, to support somebody and say, hey, I want to partner with you on this. I know next week we're doing our yearly kids camp, where we're going to have, I think, 60 kids from the city that are attending camp with police officers. It's actually our school resource officers, which are a wonderful group of officers. There's no school in the summer, so we put them to work, and they're running this camp, and that's going to be a full week of camp where kids are in a safe place, where they're getting mentorship, encouragement, interacting in a positive way to the police. But I think there's probably more capacity for us to take opportunity of doing things like that and having those positive engagement with, because this is where we want to be meeting with the kids. We want to be interacting with the kids like that, not in a way of putting handcuffs on them or being a part of communicating them some tragic news that happened in their family.
No doubt. I got to go here. I'm going to be transparent with you. With the youth in our community, I say the darker community, in the black community, there's a fear of the police officer. How and what can we do? And I got to be transparent, what they are afraid of. And I don't want you to think you go out there and get a gun just because you're afraid of that. No, we can come up with a better solution. What they're afraid of because of the fact that they see some of the things that have happened to the black community from certain places with the police department, they're unjust.
Absolutely.
So therefore, they are afraid.
Absolutely.
So therefore, they feel as if I've got to do something because I'm afraid if I go to the police, it's going to come back on me. Or I'm not going to be taken serious because I am black. And you see what we read, we see what happens. How can we get them to overcome that fear of the protector? How can we get them to understand that it only deepens the wound when it's that if you got the gun and here's the people that wears the gun that's going to help us, but they're so afraid because of what has happened to some black people.
Yep. Well, step one for us is acknowledging everything that you just said and recognizing that. And it's not just what happened in the news in the past few years. It's generational, where you go back, if you want to look at the history of policing in America, when you literally had American police officers in a uniform like this enforcing Jim Crow laws, enforcing black codes, and enforcing racism in America. And I know that I was blessed to know all four of my grandparents before they passed. And they would tell me stories about things in their life, and all that would stick with me. So we have generations of young, especially of our African American youth, that have heard stories passed down from generation to generation. And that is not an easy thing to overcome when there's all these true stories, and then factor in that more recent things that they're seeing on the news that they're here to see. So step one for policing is, especially for our young officers, that I might hire a 23-year-old officer, not a racist bone in their body, and I've never been responsible for any racist.
Right.
Okay, but look at the uniform you're wearing. So you need to learn all about this stuff that happened in the past. So step one is for our profession to recognize all the harm in the past, and that's the lens that, for better for worse, young people often view us as.
Most certainly.
Then there's no magic wand to overcome all of that. It's every day we have to go out, do the right thing, earn that trust, look for the positive community interactions that we can have, so that we're seen not just as a uniform, but as Eric Winstrom, a human that cares about you, that's compassionate about you, that wants good things for you. So, but it's not easy.
And you see, and that's what I think with some of the events that I see that are coming up, I think that especially with some of the younger people, I'll encourage you, Tara, they were talking about an event that's coming up in July, one that's going to be on the 30th, one that's going to be on the 23rd, I believe, one that's going to be in Warrenton, one's going to be in Milton. But I say that the police department that you're doing, but I want people to, especially those young black and brown kids, to get to know you so they won't be afraid of you because of what they do see that's happening in our community. And I know that's a problem with some of our kids, because I've talked with them, some of them are afraid that what may happen to them. But I don't want you to think that you need to go out and get a gun. That's not gonna make the problem worse. I want us to be able to get them together, to talk to them in many different settings, and let them see that we can save your life on many levels. Knowledge is power. And once you receive that knowledge and you can see that some of the things that we can make that difference or make that change, but it's going to take us, all of us, to do that, to get them over the fear, to prevent some of the things like what happened this past weekend. With these ideas that we're working on, Chief, I mean, I compliment you, because when I followed you, you had been there all night, and I know that already. I had been, because I said, oh, how's he awake? I mean, that you've been there to make a difference. Hello, and that's why you got that black hook.
That's right.
I mean, but with these kind of things that are going on, how is it that, even with the people, the bystanders that were there the other night, his one child lying here, he's deceased. There are others that are out. hurt, wherever the bullet may have hit them. How can we get them to understand that that weapon that you have tucked in your pants, that takes away from everybody, that takes away. It's got to be something we're missing. I mean, no, it's part of the home, but it's something else that we're missing to get them, because I just think it's too easy for them to get a gun.
Yeah.
Even though maybe you've got something on your record that you can't get the gun, you get somebody else to get it, but then you're implicating, you're being a part of that problem. I just think that it's got to be something we can do to help rectify the problem so we can stop losing so many young people. Young people dying more than the older ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, leave it here. I mean, because I always say, as my mother used to say, "Now, baby, y'all supposed to bury me. I'm not supposed to bury you." What is it that we can do with this strong problem that we have, the enforcement that we need, the solutions that we're trying to find, even if we go with the curfews, how are we still going to institute the fact to stop them from getting these guns? I think that's the key thing we got to work on. What can we do as a community to help?
Well, there's a lot in the law enforcement community for us to do, and I think we're pretty good at it. But as you are pointing out, it's not going to stop it. I mean, we're going to hold people accountable. We're going to take illegally possessed guns off people.
Right.
Our federal partners, we have a great relationship with the ATF. They're going to be looking for straw purchasers. They're going to be looking for gun traffickers, et cetera. But there's so many guns out there, and so many young people in our community willing to make young people or worse decisions, bad decisions, that we really need adults. I think the best thing is for every adult to really be intentional think about the young people in your life, even if they're not your kids. Think about the young people that you might be a father figure, mother figure to.
Right.
Interact with those kids. Okay. Have the difficult conversation that you might not want to have. Put them on notice. Just say, hey, do you carry a gun? Are you going around with people that carry a gun? Did you go down on July 4th? Did you know that there were people in the crowd with guns? If it's uncomfortable, it's probably an important conversation to have with a young person. So, so the more adults that we have in Pensacola stepping up and having those difficult conversations and really caring, and let them know, I'm asking you because I love you. I'm asking you because I care, and get that message across.
Okay, what should a parent, we got to go to break, but I want you to think about this. What should parents be watching for with their children that can be concerned, or maybe who they're hanging with is influencing them to get in these gangs and violence? What can we tell them when we see? What should we be looking for at home so we can have that preventive measure? Think about that. We're going to talk about that when we return right here on Sunshine's Corner.
Hey folks, Winston Lindsay here with Living Southern Homes in Bruton, Alabama. We just want to remind you our new show will be coming on at 5:30 on Mondays on Blab TV and also Thursday at noon. Don't miss these opportunities. We will see you then.
At FPL, we plan for storm season all year long. We're strengthening poles to better withstand severe weather. We're clearing lines to improve resiliency, and we're constantly training teams to act at a moment's notice. Because we're always working, always preparing. So when storms do hit, you can count on us. FPL, working for you every single day.
The Emerald Coast Utilities Authority's state-of-the-art materials recycling facility processes recyclables for communities throughout the region, lowering need for more landfills. This highly efficient recycling service accepts glass, paper, cardboard, plastics, aluminum, and more. But we need your help. Please make sure your recyclables are clean of garbage, food, and liquids. Also, please remember that plastic shopping bags, foam products, or yard waste are not recyclable. To learn more, go to livegreenecua.com.
Well, I think it's all about local, and I'm a big believer in local. So I think anytime you can carry a message out locally, it's important. And And I think it's anytime the person that delivers the service can also deliver the message, which is unusual. You have the people that actually deliver the project doing the talking, and I think that's a huge difference, and really makes a huge value difference for the consumer. So I'm really just so grateful that we have this local opportunity with Blab TV. My name is Quint Studer, and I am Blab TV.
And welcome back to Sunshine's Corner. You know, Chief, before we left, I wanted to ask this question again. What is it that parents at home should be watching for, the signs that they can see if their child is doing something different? Maybe you can prevent this getting in these gangs or hanging out with the wrong kids to get into this violence. What are the type things that at home, Mama, I'm a mother. Don't ever say not my child.
Yeah, and that's important because I've seen literally hundreds of times in my career that now, I mean, I've been a parent now for 14 years. Your natural instinct as a parent is be defensive of your child,
exactly.
Protect your child. And I've had the phone call where I've called, hey, come down to the station. Your kid had a gun. Your kid was shooting at somebody, whatever. And it's always like, nope, not my kid. Like you put that gun on him or something. And I'm like, oh boy, there's a reality check needed. So number one is just be aware that. Part of protecting your kid is not just saying nope, not responsible, not accountable. Hold that kid accountable.
Exactly.
Be willing to hold your kid, and knowing that that's love. That's showing that I care about you for the future. You might be angry at me today for saying you're not going out of the house with that ski mask. You are not going out of the house. But everybody's taking ski masks. Like you are not going out with that ski mask, which
so it really had it on their face.
Literally on their face, yeah. And I'm not shy. I would go up. I could tell their kids. I walk up. Hey, are you cold? You know, why are you? Are you going to rob a bank? I don't understand why you have a ski mask. And they would be uncomfortable and walk away. But
did they take it out?
Parents need to no. If anything, they wanted to wear it longer. I don't know. But again, these are difficult conversations to have. Be open-minded with the fact that, I mean, like I said, I'm a parent.
Right.
My kids, if you're a parent that thinks your kids are angels, you probably are living in a world of, in a fantasy world. So number one, be open-minded to the fact that you don't know 100% of what's going on in your kid's life. You want to try and find that out. And sometimes if it's not bad, the love that you can show is holding them accountable and making sure that they're making better decisions, not emboldening them and saying, "Oh, don't if the police gave you a hard time about that gun." No, you want them on a better, hopeful path, not a tragic one like we saw this weekend.
Absolutely. How can the schools, how can churches, nonprofits, neighborhoods, with all these things that are going? I'm talking to the churches now. Pastor, have you talked with the chief? Have you introduced him, invited him to your church? Do that. Let him meet the chief. This is my new BFF. So come on. He's easy to talk to, but I think if we get him in the church, meet them where they are.
Absolutely.
And that could be a huge difference maker right there. And guys, he's easy to talk to. But let your kids be that person, walk up and say, "Hi, Chief. Maybe you might want to go be a what's it called, cadet."
Yeah, a recruit.
Yeah.
Police officer. We're hiring. So that's it. But our relationship with the faith community is so important to me, pastors, and I'll just face it. Looking back on my career investigating murders in Chicago, I would go on the scene of a homicide and look around, and there could be 20 people on the street, and no one wanted to talk to me because I was a police officer. I was whatever the situation. But if I had a relationship with a pastor in that community and go, it's a different world, and say, "Pastor, I trust you, you trust me, we have that relationship," and then immediately the people that might look at me and say, "Well, I don't know you, I don't know you enough to trust you, I know my pastor and I trust them." Now we have an open dialogue and we can get things done to move to a safer place. So I value those relationships so much. Certainly if there's a pastor that I haven't met yet that wants to invite me someplace, I'll always say yes unless a different pastor invited me first.
Exactly.
The mayor has done a great job. He's held, actually just 2 weeks ago, held a pastor's roundtable at City Hall, which he invited me to meet further. So important relationship, and they have such a positive impact on our community, and not just inside the church wall, it extends
Outside as
to,
well.
and certainly with our young people.
No doubt. Now, right before we got down to our last 2 minutes, if anybody wants to find out anything about this case, what do they need to do?
Well, if you want to help us out,
I mean, help.
certainly we are, I mean, until at least 4 or 5 today, our detective team is available to talk to you in person at the police station. We had people coming down yesterday that physically walked in. If you're not comfortable with that, and even if you want to provide information anonymously, Gulf Coast Crime Stoppers,
Yep.
if you just Google that, I think it's gulfcoastcrimestoppers.org.
Yeah.
Maybe you can call 1-800-433-STOP, provide the information anonymously. I should say it's 850-433-STOP.
There you go.
I know they got an 800 number too, but I'm not sure if it's the same. But you go online, you can text a tip anonymously. And we need the help from the
Exactly.
community, because I know we've talked to a lot of people. There are a lot of people just stepped up that first night and stayed right there and said, let me tell you what I saw. But we know there's people that also left the area that probably have important information that if they were able to share it with us, it will help us getting justice, getting answers for this grieving family.
Absolutely. How can I say thank you enough for coming in for me with short notice? Because I
No,
wasn't
I
gonna stop.
appreciate you taking the time talking to me. Anytime you invite me, I'm coming back.
Look, because I'm going to keep, I got a space for you all the time.
Great.
Because
Well,
I think that we got that relationship so we can get our viewers to understand how important it is to get to know our new chief.
Thank you.
And he's coming into Pensacola doing the work that you're doing. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you're doing. I appreciate it. Believe me, you got a seat with me now.
Very good.
Thank
Very
you
good.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember, please keep your eyes on your kids. If they're doing something different, make a note of that. Ask questions. Be that person that says, okay, no, honey, you can't do that. Be that person. I've got to go, but I want to leave you as I do every day. Never, ever, ever, ever lose your focus. Always remember this. As you keep God first in your life, I guarantee you'll be a total success. So until tomorrow for another day of sunshine, know that I love you with a perfect kind of love. And I mean that. So until then, go out and tell somebody that you love them and mean it. Keep shining while I'm gone. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate you, BFF.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just a small town girl with a big old dream. Now she's taking it over and making a scene. Yes, it's your turn next, so please take your seat. 'Cause baby, the best is yet to be seen. Good morning, sunshine. Good morning,
Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer.
sunshine.